Before I go into my video, do me a favour, click on like, click on subscribe, make this stupid head smile from there to there, like this. This video is going to feature this silver beauty. This little fella is the 1949 Super Balanced Action as it's commonly known, or Super Action as it's technically known. And it's in this beautiful silver plate. As you can see, it's got a whole bunch of features on it which I like. First thing I want to mention is that this needed some repair when I got it in my paws here, because all the left hand keys and the right hand and the low B, and it's not so much fun when you're struggling to get a sound out of an instrument like this, which costs a lot of money. And to be honest, it was a bit of a shock because I didn't expect it to be as bad as what it is. But now, thankfully, I've put the time and the effort into it and now it works fine. I want to show you what this little beauty looks like and how it sounds. First thing to notice, of course, is that it's in this absolutely stunning silver plating. Now, I do have a soft spot for silver saxophones. I just think they look a bit classier than the regular brass. Maybe I'm just being a snob, but I just think silver saxophones just have that little bit of elegance about them. I mean, all saxophones to me have elegance about them, but silver like this with a beautiful engraving on the bell like that, which continues down to the bow area, that's a big green tick in the box for me. Straight away, that appeals to the eyes. Never mind what it sounds like or what it feels like, just looking at it, it looks like a piece of beautiful artwork. So I'm going to take you around the saxophone briefly. First of all, yes, them low C and E flat keys are very, very nice. This design where the C is in the middle of the E flat and it's on one rod, and you have this nice comfortable arrangement going on there. Look at that. High F sharp right there. Would you believe it? 1949, and it looks quite modern. I've noticed that shape on Yanagasawa's and, yeah, of course, Selmer's. Now look at the size of this key guard going on there with that reverse F sharp. Just there. Look at the size of that mammoth. That's huge. That's, how do I say, ugly. It has a nice little thumb rest there, although the thumb rest does feel okay. It's a little bit on the small side. It's okay, it functions, it does a job. And it's metal, so that's another little tick. The left hand keys here are very nice. They've got a nice spacing between them. And of course, that mechanism there for the auxiliary F has been continued all the way through the range, mostly, and especially in the Mark VI. Whereas you can see where it came from this design here. The right-hand keys are also nicely spaced and feel very comfortable. Now, I mentioned the engraving very briefly, but let's have a little closer look at it. Look at that, going all the way down the bell, straight down to the bow area. And they were doing it all by hand, so yes, that's a nice little piece of artwork right there. Look at that. You've got this nice bit of fancy engraving going on here. It's just a nice little touch. You've got your typical Selmer round body to bell brace, 2 points, one on the bell and one on the side of the body there. That seems to be a standard and it's kind of their signature. Let's have a look at this pinky cluster, because that is what I'd say compact. That's just my posh word for saying it's a little bit smaller than, say, what I'm used to, but it doesn't feel uncomfortable. And you've got this nice tight arrangement there. I like the design of the C sharp key with that nice little piece of metal which curves like a half moon up to the rest of the rod. Palm keys, they feel quite okay. They are, again, a little bit smaller and a little bit more compact than what I'm used to, but they still function very well. It only took me a couple of minutes to get used to it. In fact, not even that. It was pretty much within a minute and I was like, there they are. That's how the layout is, and it felt okay. Another little mini thing going on with this tenor is the button for your left hand. Look at this. Why couldn't that be a little bit bigger? It functions okay, but if it was just 0.5 centimeter bigger, it would be perfect. Now my friend here, the octave key is quite significant from here all the way up there. And it's a strange and interesting design. It's a lot bigger than your modern sort of octave keys, but it still knows how to wiggle. Go on, mister, get your wiggling done. Now let's have a look at the neck, because my favourite part of every Selmer saxophone that I've tried is the neck. I just think Selmer has nailed it from day one, probably, when it comes to necks, because that seems to be their magical ingredients when it comes to making saxophones. The size, the bore, the taper, the angle is just very sweet. You've got the logo just here, and you've got this nice, interesting octave key going on, which has now been kind of brought back by some of these, say, Chinese companies, which are starting to make replicas of these necks. And I can see why, because these necks are great. The low B and B flat keys have separate key guards, as you can see clearly right there. Maybe it's just a little trend they had at the time, because nowadays most manufacturers are making a combined all-in-one low B and B flat key guard. I guess it saves on production costs, and it's easier to get access for adjusting them low notes. Although the access to adjusting these notes is quite okay because it's an open-faced key guard. Let me just get this neck back on here. Now, another thing I forgot to mention is that I had to adjust the mechanics on this. The F sharp, there was a lot of play between the F sharp rod and the post. Same with the G and the low B and B flat. That's just something that should not really be overlooked, because it was a little bit rattly, and that can cause leaks as well. That's really something that should be looked at first, in my opinion. I'm not trying to moan too much. It was just a little mini thing I had to bring up. But now all the regulation, all the pad work, everything's set up. Now have a listen to the key noise. When I close the keys, have a listen to this. It's so nice, I'm going to do it twice. And that is what I call a very good sign. The proof in the pudding is when I actually do the demo for you lot out there. So hearing that sound and feeling the actual resonance of the bell of the instrument, I'm quite excited because it feels like it's going to be a very vibrant horn. So let's get stuck into it. I'll get my mouthpiece on and I'll catch you lot after the demos. So that was the Silver Beauty. What do you think about it? Now it's your turn. Stick your comments in that section below. Let's have a good old chat like that. It's kind of a mixed bag because there's some great points and there's also some things which are little niggles for me. Let's go through the little niggles first, and that means we can end it on a high point. So first of all, look at my thumb. This thumb rest is horrible. Look at my thumb there. Do you see that? You know the thing called saxophone player's thumb that we get from thumb rests from saxophones? That doesn't matter to me because I'm used to it, but this particular saxophone, it felt like it was digging in. And to be honest, it was a little bit painful, and I'm not exaggerating by that. I've actually got a mini bruise there now because it was digging in that much, and that's because this thumb rest is, like I said earlier in the video, it's a little bit too small. So if you're going to use one of these saxophones, I strongly recommend putting a bit of rubber or a bit of cork on the end of that to try and make it a bit more comfortable, because that wasn't fun when it was digging in, and it was actually knocking my concentration a bit. And it was kind of like, okay, just get on with it, even though it's hurting like hell. But yes, that's a thing to look out for. This thumb rest, not the most comfy little design. And the other thing I call the Selmer thing is the tuning. The tuning on the top end from your palm keys can get a bit sketchy if you're not careful. I've been playing a long time, so I was able to hear it and adapt my embouchure and my playing so that the tuning was more than acceptable. But if you're a beginner and you pick up something like this, first of all, you must have a great bank balance. But secondly, it's not a saxophone that I would recommend you start on. This is a saxophone that you would play if you've been a seasoned professional or you're at a certain level where you can handle and hear what tuning and intonation actually is. Because when people start out, they just want to make a noise on the saxophone. Otherwise, you're going to be hellishly out of tune. And the third little minor issue for me, you've got to be careful when you're putting this neck on, because that little pip there could open this octave key if you put it too far to one side. You've got to have it right in the sweet spot there. But I got away with it. It was actually okay. It was just something that you've got to bear in mind. So that was just the minor niggles that I had about this. Nothing so huge, but enough to take note about. Now going to the positive stuff, which is, first of all, as I've already said multiple times, this looks stunning. It's an absolute beauty. Also, the key work, the layout is very cozy. I like it. That little pinky cluster is nice and snug. The low C and E flat, they just fall very well under the fingers. Everything just feels nice about the layout, although this is not a gripe. These left-hand keys on the palm are a little bit more compact than I'm used to, but they were very okay. It just took me a minute or so to get used to them, and I was flying around them, not a problem. But overall, this thing feels great. Now, the sound of this thing, how would I describe it? Well, it is, like some of the key work, quite compact. It's got a little bit of a smaller sound than I'm used to. It's not going to blow the walls off. I mean, not everybody who wants to blow the back walls off when you're at a gig. Some people want to play nice and chilled out, or they want to play with a smaller sound into a microphone, which can amplify you, so you don't really need to have a huge sound. In general, it does have a little bit of a smaller sound than, say, my Yamahas or my Yanagisawas, or especially my Beast. The tone itself, because the sound is a bit more compact, it felt a little bit more dry, but I was still able to get a nice enough tone which was more than acceptable to my ears. I was able to get my brightness out, I was able to get the sweetness and the softness out, and also I could get the altissimo no problem. And that was a good thing, because sometimes on older horns the altissimo can be a bit sketchy, but this one, not a problem. These super balanced actions are fetching a crazy price, and I understand why, because the rarity of them. But for me, the quality of sound and the price, it doesn't really add up to me. Again, it's that whole mythical, legendary status of the SBA. So the prices go up, the rarity status, you know what I'm saying? But that's just my view on this silver piece of shiny beautifulness. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, but that's the beauty of the saxophone world. There's so much variety, so much choice, because there's so many fantastic saxophones which stand out amongst this saxophone timeline, and this has that place in the timeline of being a great saxophone, but great for somebody else. You will catch me in the next video, wishing you a fantastic day. Ciao for now.